Well, happy birthday again, America. We are continuing our look through Psalm chapter 110. Just as a reminder, in the previous video, we looked at how Psalm 110, and particularly verse 1 of that psalm, were used in most of the New Testament. But I've saved the best for last because Hebrews uses this psalm extensively. Hebrews is saturated with Old Testament references more than almost any other New Testament book except for Revelation. And Psalm 110 plays a particularly prominent role here. You look at the prologue to the whole book of Hebrews, the first 4 verses of chapter 1, and you'll see there in verse 3 that Jesus sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high, another reference to the first verse. And then later on in verse 13, it will be explicitly quoted. But to which of the angels has he ever said, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool"? My son has decided to join for this a little bit of this voice video. Hebrews, in many ways, is used to point to Christ's superiority to all that's come before. Here, this psalm is used particularly to demonstrate Christ's superiority to the angelic hosts, which struck fear into all who saw them and were capable of great destruction. Angels often fascinate folks, but here we're warned not to miss the main point of Scripture, the one who it's all about. No angel sits and rules with the Father, only His Son, Jesus Christ. Then moving on to Hebrews chapter 5 and continuing through Hebrews chapter 7, the focus will shift to Psalm 110 verse 4, and that's used as the centerpiece of an extended argument for Christ's superiority as high priest, referring back to the story of Abraham and Melchizedek in Genesis chapter 14. Now remember, if you look at that account, Abraham's nephew, Lot, had been captured in a war along with many others. Abram took a small force of his household servants and defeated his captors, rescuing the other captives of Sodom and Gomorrah and so on before meeting with Melchizedek. Genesis 14, 18 to 20. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High, and he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." And he gave him a tithe of all. This account is very brief, just 3 verses, and Psalm 110 as well as Hebrews chapter 5 through 7 will reference this account extensively.